Alright guys, so what we're doing here is I have the RetroTINK 5 Pro. I'm on the latest firmware 1.99 and I have it going through an HDMI splitter, one side with the mClassic, one side without. What you're looking at right now is without the mClassic. This is input 1 and input 2 is with the mClassic. Basically, this is a 1080p signal. I have the original Xbox using Xbox brand OEM component cables coming out of the Xbox into the RetroTINK, and the RetroTINK is outputting for me in 1080p. My capture device will accept the 480p signal, but it doesn't stay in 4.3. It seems to stretch it, and it's not my TV, and the mClassic doesn't want to squash it into 4.3 using the retro mode. So I'm only going to show 720p's in the middle, and going through all the settings, 1080p just looks the best anyway. So I'm not going to go through all of that. So what I'm going to do now for this game, I've already tested it out. Now if you look at the bottom of the screen, again, I am on the original mode. I'm not using mClassic on this signal that you're seeing right now. And if you look at the bottom of the screen where it says use the D-pad to select, if you look at that little crosshatch pattern, you can see where most of the change happens there. As I go to soft and then smooth, you can see it, and then I'll go back to sharp. You can see it kind of it gets a little bit crisper, right? And so scan lines don't really, at least in this game, the scan lines don't look that great. But I'll go through it. So here's polyphase, 25 and 50%. And I'll go through it with the mClassic side as well. Here's internal mod, 25, 50, 75, slot mask. Now some of these don't look bad, but whenever I played it, it was like, oh, I could tolerate it, but then it just kind of got annoying for this game in particular. I do like scan lines on some other games, and I'm going to try it out and I'll show you. Consumer is probably one of my favorite patterns because it's not like so blatantly out there. And here's the rest of them, LCD. And then I'll switch over to the mClassic real quick. And so the mClassic, of course, the best way I can compare it is if I go back and I go to the RGB, the color space here. The mClassic basically looks like this, where the RGB color space is full. But if I leave it on the full color space, the mClassic, it goes even further, and you'll see real quick. You see? So in some games, this may work out where, I mean, now this is like pure on black for everything, right? As you see here, it's not, but you may like it. It just depends, variation, you know. So that's why I'm going to go back and forth. But let's go back to limited, and then we'll go back to where we were. Where are the scan lines at? I think I passed it up, didn't I? Yeah, here we are. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you one time what the scan lines look like with the mClassic here. It totally blows them out. So if you're going to use the mClassic, I would highly suggest you don't use scan lines. Because here's the polyphase. Now back and forth, I'll do a quick comparison, see. Here's the 50% and here's without the mClassic. So you can see how it's going to blow them out. And so it's not really worth it. As I'm going back and forth here, see? It really And you might find a game. I'm not saying there's not going to be one game out there. See, this one, it really ruins them. See, Grill, it ruins that one too, the mClassic does. And this is nothing against mClassic, by the way. Grill 2 pretty much looks the same. You know, not a whole lot of difference there. This one gets blown out, see. And then this one, you know, it pretty much looks, for the most part, barely any change, if any at all, for field view monitor. Consumer, you know, you could keep that one, and that one's okay. That one's probably my favorite scan line. But if you look at the pattern at the bottom, where it says use the D-pad to select, look at the writing, and then look at the crosshatch pattern. You see what the scan lines do to that? So some games you may not like it, and again, other games you might. So this one looks the same too with the mClassic. This one gets a little bit blown out. So here's the LCD. I should have just done this at the beginning. And then here's scan line off. So I won't show the scan lines on all the other games, like all the way through using the mClassic, but here's the RGB limited, and then here it is with full. You see? Now if you look at the yellow where it says West Coast, in comparison it looks a little green, but I only notice that when I go back and forth. So this game I'll probably just keep it on limited whenever I use the mClassic. But let's go back. Most of you probably don't have the mClassic, so we're just going to keep the color space on limited for right now. And then we're going to leave for this game at the very least, we're going to leave the God, I can't even think of the name of those scan lines off. And then we'll go to the interpolation. This game, it looks good on sharp. Some games, it looks better on soft. So I'm going to keep it here for right now. And I'll switch to the mClassic. I'll just use here. Let's stick with Angel. See, here's the mClassic and here's the non. You know, so right now we're on non. I don't know how it's picking up in the capture device. So I can see the mClassic fixing this. You know, and when I say, you know, fixing it, the mClassic isn't really going to do much anti-aliasing for this because it is already scaled from the RetroTINK into a 1080p signal. So if you're going to use the mClassic, with that being said, you know, similar to my setup here, then just keep in mind, if you have a live gamer portable like I do, you might have issues with the 480p signal and the RetroTINK, where it doesn't want to display in 4:3 mode. I had that issue. I don't know, maybe I could unplug and plug in the cables and kind of refresh the signal. That might fix it, but I don't know for sure. I'm not recording in 480p anyway. In my initial setup, my previous videos, they're 480p using the original Xbox component cables going into a non-scaling HDMI adapter. Okay, here's the mClassic. So I like the way this looks on this game, but if I add scan lines, no, it doesn't look good to me. And if I do the color space, I don't like it either. For those of you who normally watch my videos, this isn't a serious crazy taxi run, so slow down. So yeah, I like the way the contrast looks, but if I were to do full range of the RGB, you know, I'm not picking anybody up here, just kind of driving around. then it changes it too much. And I'll show you real quick here. RGB. See, to me, it just oversaturates it. And if your capture device tends to kind of undersaturate and you want a more of a saturated look, then this would work perfect for you. You know? It'll work out and it'll balance out, you know, your capture. But to me, it just looks a little bit oversaturated, so I'm not going to use it, at least on this game. Maybe if I play another game, which I do intend at some point at getting the component cables for the original Wii/Wii U, since I do console emulation on there, and I can set the console, at least the Wii U, to 480p. The Wii maxes out at 480p. And let me change out the game here. And I could also play Nintendo GameCube games on my Wii U. Let's put in the Simpsons Road Rage. Now, if you're wondering why my capture did not stop recording, is because I'm using a picture-in-picture box, which is my multi-viewer. It's also, you know, called, and so it's always sending a signal. And normally, if I would have did that, my recording would have stopped. Might have to lower the TV here, just in case. So, because I know it does the Simpsons music. So okay, now I can unmute it. Okay, so we're at full color space. Let's switch that to limited. And let's go back to the original signal. No mClassic. And then we'll go, you know, we'll go back and forth.
Another defiant motorist? You'll soon learn your lesson, friend.
This game also drives differently than Crazy Taxi. I have to remember. Gas isn't the, you know, your gas and brake is your A and B buttons. So, already this game, you know, isn't bad. Looks good. And that's on limited. Let's go to full. And then we'll go to some other settings as well. Cartoony game. Using the full, it just makes the car pop a little bit more. You know, I like it. I can deal with that. You know, it's a little bit on the saturated side, just a little bit. You know, nothing too overbearing. So let's go over here. See, I was trying to stop with the trigger and my horn honked. Avoid traffic. Well, I lost that bonus. And then we're going to switch over here when I drop him off to the mClassic. So you get an idea. Ooh, did I go the wrong way? Can I go this way? Yeah. I don't play this game very often. It's been a few times where I've tossed it in my videos just to kind of demonstrate mClassic and stuff like that before. But this is to help with the RetroTINK. So I'm going to switch the source. Now it's on full color space. You're going to see this is, you know, some of you may like that cartoony, oversaturated, but that yellow on the bus, it doesn't look school bus yellow, orangey color. It looks a little bit overbearing. Okay, let's turn around here. But if your capture device doesn't capture in, you know, full solid colors, saturated, then this might be, you know, it might be for you. Or depending on your TV, maybe you got an older flat panel TV, and the backlight is going out or something like that. So let's then it would help out, you know, for not for. So here's the limited color space with the mClassic on. So I like it. I like the way this looks. I believe it is still on sharp, so I'm not sure. I have to. Oh my gosh, I have to check that out. Am I late? He wasn't going very far, was he? Okay, well, I mean, again, I don't play this game that much. Gotta move out the way, copper. Yeah. Okay, here's Mario. Where are you going? Okay. So let's go to the smoothing. So I have it on sharp. Let's go to smooth. Because this is with the mClassic. So, going by my eyes on my TV, why is it, you can't go over that? This isn't crazy text, even man. Really? Restart, yes. So, looking at it with smoothing, and again, the mClassic, not sure. Man, this is a slow loading game. Get my games on the hard drive or something. Okay.
How dare you cover the roadways with that piece of rubbish?
That piece of rubbish. Okay, looking at the car close up, it looks good. I mean, okay, yeah. Looking at the car, I think it looks good. Let me go to sharp real quick, just to see. Yeah, I can see how the smoothing, it does help out on this game. If you look at the windshield of the car, it doesn't do a whole lot, but it does help. So I give a thumbs up for the smoothing on this game with the mClassic. Here's without it. So you can see once you get used to that kind of that saturation, then you kind of miss it. So is my color space? Oh, wrong button. Okay, soft. Smooth. Okay, where is my full color space? Here we are on this game. Full color space with smooth on. So this game, you don't need the mClassic for. I think this, see, because here's the mClassic. If you want it to oversaturate, it's not going to clean up the 1080p signal like anti-aliasing, you know, but it's going to fix some colors. Well, I failed. Man, this sure is not crazy taxi. Can I boost in this game? Okay, I can kind of drift with the trigger. Okay, let's go back here. I like the full color space without the mClassic. Let's go to scan lines, and I'll show you on this game without the mClassic because it's going to blow them out. But, you know, it might. The good ones, it might work. Polyphase. %. Some of these aren't that bad. Like, they look decent, but as far as the capture goes in YouTube, it may not be for you. It just depends on your TV and if you're going to be, you know, capturing the gameplay or not. But they look really good. I can't sit there and stare at that. This one's decent. What am I going backwards for? Am I on that much of an incline? Consumer 2. LCD, no. See, when I go here to the mClassic, I'll go through it real quick. This way I don't have to. As you can see, it overdoes some of them, but look at that. I got another passenger. Yeah, I don't. This game, doesn't need scan lines. If you could split off the signal maybe and not capture the scan lines but be able to play with it on your TV depending on your setup, then yeah, I can see that. You know, but let's go on to the next game here. Let's go with Gauntlet. Gauntlet Dark Legacy. I've already done with my buddy Roy. We did a full playthrough on it already. I need to get the other game. I know it's not as good, but I'm sure it's a fun game, you know, nonetheless. So let's, again, we're on the original signal. RGB limited, I believe. No, actually, it might be on full. Okay, so let's go start. I'm just going to load up the game I have. Again, we've already played through. We're 100% leveled up, maxed out character. You know, maybe we should try to play through another one using another character, but let's see here. See, so now this game might be one where I can crop some up on the top there because it doesn't go top and bottom on the video. It's kind of a letterbox game. So I might be able to send this one to 1080p over, which is interesting because I never noticed that this game does that. So let's check. 'Cause sometimes it's like menus and stuff. Yeah, okay. See, yeah, the gameplay, the cutscenes don't. Kill all those guys. Okay, so let's stop right here, and we'll run through the scan lines since we're already on this setting. So these scan lines in this game, they don't look that bad. Again, it's going to be total preference. YouTube is probably going to do some sort of compression here, but maybe you can run a splitter, you know, that it splits off component and then it goes into your RetroTINK, and then you can play while capturing in a different way. You know, see, this one actually looks good. Let's see what it looks like at the mClassic. Okay, so it doesn't alter it; it just messes with the color space a little bit, because that's what the mClassic does. Okay, integer 100 LCD. Okay, so let's go through here. Limited color space. See, now watch when I go to full. See, so I prefer that color space with the mClassic. See, versus that. That's a little bit on the dark side. But, you know, if you're going to have some scan lines, then maybe. So we're on the original with the full color space. If you haven't, you can stay with me there. Because I know that it could be kind of seamless, the switching a little bit. Okay, so 1080p fill. So let's go to over. So it does do some cropping, as you can see there. But if I raise it up here, okay, that's maxed out. So I can see the whole bottom of the information, you know, with your players and everything. So this might be doable for 1080p over and just crop off the top. You're going to lose a little bit, but I don't think it's going to affect gameplay on this one. This is more of a RPG level up style game. So we're on smooth. Let's go to sharp, and then we'll go to soft and smooth. Let's go to that, because I know these are known. Look at that broken headstone there, right? Here's sharp. You can see the jaggies on it. Soft, it's settled out, and then smooth. It really cleans that the jagged edges. Very similar to the mClassic. So in some cases, you know, some people may not even need the mClassic because it'll take a 480p signal and it'll upscale it to 1080p, and it'll smooth out. But I'm starting to see that the RetroTINK actually crops off the image better, because you don't have the borders on the left right side of the image like I do with the mClassic. And when it goes to retro mode in 4.3 in smooth, the RetroTINK is actually a more of a proper 4.3, where the mClassic, it does force it, but it forces it with the overscan borders. I don't know what those are actually called. You know, where it has like the video within the video signal. You know, like you can see right now the borders on the left and right, but the video signal itself will have a slight border, but you don't see that with the RetroTINK like you do with the mClassic. So here, I'm gonna switch over to the mClassic real quick, and it does, you know, clean it up a little bit. If you look at that rock, you know, the headstone, how it smooths it, it does help a little bit. So I'm not saying that this is going to be the, you know, the mClassic killer. You know, I'm still going to use the mClassic because, hey, that little bit is going to help my, you know, my signal a little bit better. You know, maybe, let's go back to limited, because full color space just kind of, the mClassic does enough for you if you're going to use it. But look at the right side there. You can see that little windowed, you know, so that will show up in your recording. So maybe the RGB space full is going to be, you know, what I'll use at least for this game. So it's going to be on a per game basis. I'm going to switch it back, because that really is kind of, to be honest, it's kind of annoying. Again, I'm leveled up fully in the game, so I mean, I have everything. Give me some magic here. But, you know, you're going to have to deal with, you know, different things. It's going to be your capture device. It's going to be the settings on your TV. You know, always, I learned from My Life in Gaming, set your television settings to 0 for sharpness. You don't want any processing, because you don't want your television to introduce any lag than you're already going to have, say, with your setup, you know, for example. And so, you know, you're going to deal with the console, you know, what cables you're using going into the RetroTINK and the settings on that, and then the mClassic for me, and then the capture device, and then how the capture device saturates your video. Some of them are a little bit more, you know, saturated than other ones. And then, of course, how you see it on your TV. So this, you know, this game, I don't know. I do like it with the mClassic, but I have to see what it looks like in the capture, because, you know, I can suffer a little bit on screen if it makes my capture look better, you know, because this is a little bit oversaturated for me, but it's not totally unplayable. It's just a little bit on the dark side, kind of like if I was if I bought some cheap HDMI adapter, you know, that went from component to HDMI, but it was a cheap scaling adapter, for example, then it makes a dark image. Then that's kind of what this looks like. So if I switch back to the without the mClassic here in full color space, then this is perfect. But again, you're going to have to deal with it's going to be on a per game, per setup basis. You know, what your preference is and how your capture is going to be, and your setup itself. And I'm using the original Xbox component cables, just the cable itself, you know, not the video pack that, you know, has the little box and, you know, what have you, goes to component. This is the cable that's direct, and it's an Xbox brand. It's not one of those that somebody made from the 360. This is the original cable version. So, just so you get the idea, if I haven't mentioned that already. One of my favorite games. If you've never played this game, play it. This is a fun game. I know it's repetitive, but you know what? Play it. It's really fun. You're going to have to go through some stages multiple times, you know, just so you can level up your guy, especially if you're multiplayer, because you're not going to get as much experience leveling up because each individual player is killing more of the enemies, so it's divided up because it doesn't put more enemies on screen because there's more players. So let me see, have I gone through all the settings here? You can just walk over these guys, see. Let's see here. I think I did go through all the settings that I was going to go through on the game. 1080p over 4:3, smooth. I mean, here's sharp. Some of you might like sharp. Here's soft. That's kind of just in the middle. And then here's smooth. For this game, being a 480p game, I prefer the smooth and scan lines off, you know. So, it's all preference. But again, here I'll just go through it real quick and then I'll switch over. I think, yeah, actually this is the last game that I'm doing. But even this one looks good. I can deal with that. But if I switch over to the mClassic, it's still good. I don't know, it's like I want to play with scan lines, but then again at the same time I don't, because it looks good. It looks perfectly fine without scan lines at all. See, here's the scan lines off. So I mean, just as easily as I could play without scan lines, I can play with them. So I think I'm just gonna end the video here. I've already tested out 3 games now, so I'll go through the stage. You know, I'm not gonna go through and pick up every little thing because I've already gotten all the rune stones and all that stuff and all the red crystals and, you know, emeralds, whatever they call it. But if you haven't played this game, pick it up. Set your Xbox to 480p because it's not a 720p or even a 1080i game. It's none of that. It's only a 720. It's only a 480p game, so. There's even some hidden stuff down there as well. I've probably played through this stage like 30 or 40 times. Easy. But next I'm probably going to look into getting the component cables for the Wii. And this way I can use them on the Wii U. They got them on Amazon, the RetroVision. Those are a very solid brand that is recommended by Retro RGB, who I follow, and I trust his reviews and recommendations. So, and they're only $30, so I'm gonna, instead of getting the OEM, you know, original used ones for the same price for $30 on eBay, I'm just gonna pick up the RetroVision. Here's the mClassic, just for kicks, and then I'll change off the RGB to that little part on the side is annoying to me, but there's a little trick over here. I'll show you real quick. And go around. But this should be way up here. So don't hit those levers yet. And you can kill the guy back here. Before you can hear him. That's poison gas. But he's back here. It's just a glitch that, you know how these games are. Then you can come over here and you can trip the lever. You need this lever too, because it opens the one at the end. So don't forget about it. Don't forget about it. See, and then here you go. It drops the bridge. I got max bling on my guy. He's leveled up as about as high as he can get. And then save one of your magics for this guy over here, because he's the demon of death or something. I just use it and he goes away. So you can push the button. He won't take no health from you because you use the magic to get rid of him. And there you have it. So anyway, I know it's a little bit longer video than I wanted it to be, but I don't have the means to do this the more professional way, much less the time. So if you made it this far, I appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Hey, look at that. See the overscan? Now it's the video. But comment, rate, and subscribe. I'm going to switch the video back. I'm going to have to go through the over-under. See, here's the under part. And then I'll have to keep switching. See, you can hear it. My capture device. See, here's the 720p. And this is with the mClassic. Here's without. So 720p, it does some cleanup. But, I still think the 1080p from the RetroTINK looks better than without the RetroTINK using 720p and the mClassic. But let me get back here. That's another signal that I can't use. How many of these do I gotta click before it works? There we go. 1080p fill. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.